We have been talking a lot lately about 90s retrofuturism and how optimistic we used to be about the future. While it's true looking ahead to Y2K and beyond was exciting and hopeful, it's easy to forget that there was more than one possible future. Something similar happened in the 1950s and 60s with the space age, the atomic age. Atomic energy was going to make our lives easier. It would take us to space, power our flying cars, or, much more likely, end all life on this planet in an instant. Still, very fondly remembered future, this follows the same theme. The tech utopian dream of the 1990s becomes a nightmare as the technology we created to make life better may ultimately lead to our undoing. This darker techno-future spawned its own genre and aesthetic, cyberpunk, mixing low-life grit with high-concept tech. Much of the groundwork of cyberpunk was laid during the 1980s, in fiction at least, Blade Runner, William Gibson's Neuromancer, Akira, but the 1990s saw the true arrival of the information age, and these ideas now seemed possible. With the widespread adoption of the internet, we were connected to each other and the world in a way that we had never been before. Everything we did could be tracked, our private information could be collected and sold, corporations grew larger than some countries, wealthier with more political influence. Our world, despite seemingly getting bigger, became much more filtered with information being controlled, and the technology intended to make our lives more convenient and comfortable would instead doom us all. That's what we're going to be talking about this week on the Videocast, dark 90s futurism and the cyberpunk aesthetic. We'll be looking at different examples, breaking down the visual and philosophical qualities of the aesthetic. This is my future. In many ways, this is our future. I have a ton of nostalgia for this period, and I'm very excited to get into this. Hi, hello. I'm your host, Brian, and this video is made possible thanks to our patrons over at patreon.com/pixandportraits. We're actually running a holiday sale over there right now, where you can save 20% off your first month or year using the discount code PMPBF25. Patrons get access to a ton of exclusive content. We got videos, digital copies of my book, The Nostalgia Economy, and help keep all of this going. We also have physical copies, t-shirts, like, comment, share, hype. It all helps, so please consider supporting us any way that you can. Now, we're going to be starting today by looking at the cyberpunk philosophy. At its heart, cyberpunk is a rebellion against dystopia. And in that, I think there is some optimism. The suffix punk, rebelling against the system, which in cyberpunk fiction is often a megacorporation or an oppressive government. In real life, it's that too, I guess. But technology plays a massive role. That's the cyber. Its roots go back further, but cyberpunk was established in the 1980s when computers were becoming much more common. They were no longer just massive machines that took up entire rooms. They were compact. You could have one in your home or in your office. Computers could even help us produce imagery, and this really inspired the aesthetic, early CGI, virtual worlds, virtual reality. Virtual, like cyber, has fallen out of fashion. It's an antiquated term, which has largely been replaced with online, though it doesn't exactly mean the same thing. The internet is so ingrained in our lives, we don't usually think of it as something we log into anymore. It's just there, always. Same with computers. Everything is a computer now. Smart devices, you're always online. But time was, all of this needed to be opted into, and this is where we start seeing a lot of the hallmarks of cyberpunk. Logging into the system, jacking in, leaving our world and entering cyberspace, usually stylized with CG, love it. Hacking, manipulating code or computer systems to break into other people's networks or secure your own, working with the system's technology to take it down, incorporating technology into our being, spirituality, transhumanism, getting new eyes, limbs, or brains, transcending humanism, using technology, and drugs. Can't forget those. There's a ton of overlap with techno and rave culture with cyberpunk, especially aesthetically, very similar fashions. Anime also helped inform the aesthetic. A lot of Gen Xers and elder millennials were introduced to anime on late night TV or ordering VHS through the mail, and cyberpunk was a massive genre. Ghost in the Shell, probably the most iconic. Because of how technologically advanced the country seemed, Japanese imagery gets appropriated in cyberpunk a lot. Same with Hong Kong, massive futuristic cities that serve as the backdrop for stories, often centered around crime. Film noir had an influence on cyberpunk. So yeah, that's basically the gist of cyberpunk. I'd like to move on now to reality, I guess, as it was presented from the 1990s. We've seen all the hope and optimism for this tech, people logging on, hip people in internet cafes, conversing with people all over the world. We aren't going to be spending much time at all on Y2K because we've already talked about that in another video. And a couple of the examples I found, I think, better define Cyberpunk. This first one features the Croakers, Arthur and Mary Louise, who dress like they're in the Matrix with the black trench coats, sunglasses. Very popular future fashion. It's been recontextualized as 90s cool recently, but we do see this a lot. This footage here is from the program Road Stories for the Flesh-Eating Future. Very sensational, but that's sort of the Croakers gimmick. This follows them around as they do media appearances and share their vision of the future, which includes a lot of human replacement theories around AI, how we were moving away from the physical world to digital. It's interesting having the knowledge of what actually happened when hearing about young people feeling stifled by unoriginality in a so-called remake loop, where the same things just keep getting re-released again and again. They want to disconnect due to how fast things are accelerating. Some things never change. It's also interesting that this documentary places the blame not on technology, but the people creating technology. Given the name, this is really about how technology is replacing humans. They joke the next advancement is technology creating technology to replace it, which in a way is straight up happening. We have AI producing content that is consumed by AI, with someone profiting. So much of what they talk about here came to be, with algorithms replacing that human element, reducing people and personalities to a curated feed. This is the future we're living in. We see it as well in this series produced by Channel Zero, a production company, Canadian, just like the Croakers. I actually used to live literally down the street from their studio in Toronto, or their offices, not sure which, but they make standard TV shows now. I think that's pretty funny, considering in the late 90s, they produced some pretty great cyberpunk propaganda, for lack of a better term. I love how these are produced, the different video effects used to make it feel more futuristic or like something you're not really supposed to be seeing. They cover all sorts of different topics around technology and government surveillance. They have a great one on tracking consumer purchases, another on corporatocracy with interviews with people very much in the cyberpunk spirit, self-identified digital anarchists, information freedom fighters. That's how it's marketed, all warning of a world that absolutely came to be. Anyway, let me know what you think. Do you prefer this sort of futurism to the overly optimistic dreams we've looked at before? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, share, and again, get in on that Patreon sale. It's a great value, a great way to support us. PMPBF25, patreon.com/pixandportraits. I'll post links in the description. As always, thank you so much for your interest in this channel, and thanks for watching. See you in the future.